Bianchi. I'm a certified vocational rehab counselor. I work out of the City College of New York. My title is CUNY LEADS Advisor. LEAD stands for Linking Employment with Academics and Disability Services. I work out of the Disabilities Office with students with disabilities. I help provide them accommodations as well as transition them into employment. I liaison with the State Vocational Office and also sometimes with CDPH. I've been doing this for the past 5 years.
Great.
My story is a little bit different. I work out of the Disabilities Office. I prepare students with disabilities for employment. So a little background. Last semester, we were a little short-staffed. We hire college assistants, students to come in and help run the front desk. They make appointments for us. They help us with the testing accommodations. They help write memos. We were having a problem keeping the office fully staffed because they all have different schedules. And I got an email from a colleague of mine, Patricia, and saying, and I'm just going to be really honest, it said free intern. I was intrigued. So I called Nicholas and we had a conversation. He said, well, I've hired interns from the Lighthouse, but I can't do it this semester. And he hooked me up with Marcia Badger, who I contacted. We had a conversation, and out of that, Lisa came over to our office, and I interviewed her. And I was very impressed with Lisa. She had a college degree. She was enthusiastic. She was willing to take on whatever it was, because I was a little bit fuzzy about the job tasks, because we're a busy office, and it comes and it goes. We're really busy during finals and midterms. And I think we had a fuzzy conversation about accommodations, about the cheat-ins doing text or whatever. So, but the disabilities office, so I really wasn't worried. And like Kyle, I was like, well, if you have the talent, no problem. So Lisa came aboard, and I was, because Debbie asked me to talk about how was I surprised about my experiences. There were really no surprises at first. I mean, I was surprised that Lisa was a little bit nervous about asking for accommodations because we have several computers in the front and we had to move them, but that wasn't a problem for me. I think what I would say from my experience, it wasn't that I was surprised. I would say from this experience is, as a vocational counselor, I never worked day to day with someone who had a visual impairment. It's opened my eyes up to, I would say it's made me a better voc person, because normally when I would work with students, I'd say it was all about the accommodation or whether they could do the job. But it's a little deeper than that. And getting to know Lisa, I think there's a real emotional component to it about whether you feel confident about the job, whether you should say, for instance, someone put up at the front desk a list of tasks to do, and I was sitting up there and it's in 12-point type and I can barely read it. And as I was sitting there, I realized, I said to Lisa, I said, can you read this? And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay, so let's print it out in larger point type so you can have it. It's about communicating, and it's day to day, and it's things we can't anticipate. It's how you handle the on-job. So for me, it's more about placement is easy, retention is hard. How you communicate to you. My advice to students would be, or to people who are looking for jobs is, and how I would do the interview differently, I would say, tell me what you feel will be the biggest challenge. Because accommodations are accommodations. I mean, I think what I learned from it too, we put Lisa in the front desk, and sometimes, people are running in and out, and she would be alone, and maybe she didn't realize if somebody was really quiet and walked in, they were standing at the front desk, and she couldn't see that. I mean, she couldn't see it, right? I'm just laughing, looking at it right now. Something I didn't think about is something that came up on the job. She's very reliable in getting to the office early. I'm not an early morning person. However, we can't have her be there alone. There has to be somebody with her. We've talked about different things we could do with that. One of the things I would say too, I said her enthusiasm goes a long way, her reliability. I love that Lisa will do pretty much anything. I had to do a really ridiculous task. I had a banner that had plastic letters on it, and I needed to remove it. So I said to her, could you peel these letters off? And she was like, she looked at me a little strangely and said, sure. But she did it, you know, and that goes a long way too on the task. Her sense of humor is great. I came into the office last week, having gotten up early, I was half asleep, and put on 2 different earrings, and went to the bathroom and realized that, and came back, and I said, did you guys notice? I said, there's a few front staff people. And they were like, no. Lisa goes, I didn't notice, I'm blind. So sense of humor goes, I guess my point is a sense of humor goes a really long way for being on the job. I think when I prepare students in the future and we talk about what do you want to do, what do you want to become, what do you want to be, I think I have to have deeper conversations with them. What do you feel confident doing? Someone brought up to me once that they wanted to be a teacher with a visual impairment. How is that going to feel, really, if you're in a classroom with 25, 30 students? I'll never say no to anybody, but let's try it out. I'm so glad I took Lisa on as an intern. I essentially hired her as a college assistant. She's been great, you know. She relates very well one-on-one. But I think the opportunity to have her as an intern was fantastic because it allowed us to kind of work out, like, what is my role with my function? So I would say to anyone who's looking for a job or thinking about a career first, if you're not sure, even if you do have the talent, because sometimes, I mean, people can be awesome teachers, but can you really, what is the reality once you get there? You know, are you going to be able to handle 25 students? Maybe not. Maybe counseling is the better option to do a one-on-one, you know, to really dig deeper and not just start with, like, okay, I'm going to be a teacher. I mean, as a voc counselor, I could say, yeah, sure. Let's just get you on track for education. Let's just get you there, you know, and send them out. But really say, okay, that's a great goal. But how are we going to test that goal? Okay, so I would say this opportunity, my experience has taught me that I have to, as a rehab counselor, I have to not question people, but really dig a little deeper than the surface and the talent. And I would say to Debbie, that's my surprise. I was surprised. That's my surprise. I wasn't surprised about the accommodations, but I was surprised by how it changed me. It's definitely been a great opportunity.